What if I told you that you could do twice the amount of studying you're doing right now in half of the time? So instead of spending 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week, you could do it in 5 or 10 and do twice the amount that you're doing. And it wouldn't be boring. It wouldn't be hard to get into. Because sometimes, let's face it, it does become boring. It does get hard to get started. It does become hard to stay on track. But what if it doesn't have to be? What if I told you that it could require less effort? It could be more fun and much more exciting. In this video, I'm going to explain for you 11 ways that you can do exactly that, how you can learn to study smart. And this is something that if you follow this process, if you stick with it, it's going to win you the respect and admiration of everyone around you, the teachers that are helping you to get the grades that you want, the students in the classroom that you sit next to, but also, most of all, the person that looks back at you in the mirror every single day. So let's get into it. The first thing that great students do when it comes to studying smart is scheduling their study sessions, breaking their time down. A lot of us, we fail to understand that time is actually something you can control. What do I mean by this? Well, what I mean is you have 24 hours in a day, 86,400 seconds. And the person who has planned and prepared every single one of those to the best of their ability, they're going to get more out of their time. So the first thing you need to sit down and do is schedule throughout the week, from Monday to Friday, on Saturday and Sunday, in your evenings, in your mornings, in your breaks between lessons. What studying are you going to do? Which topic are you going to focus on? So that when you sit down at the desk, you haven't left anything to chance, but you've scheduled in exactly what you're going to do. So it requires less brain power, precious brain power that you need to focus on learning, to focus on studying effectively. It's not used up in deciding what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. It's already laid out for you. I want you to imagine the life of an athlete, the life of a boxer preparing for his final fight. They don't leave these things to chance. Their meals, their training regimen, the things that they need to work on has been planned beforehand, and you can use the people around you to help you do that. The second thing that you need to focus on is what we call the Ebbinghaus curve. And basically what it means is you forget things over time. So if you learn something today, tomorrow you may remember 50% of it. The day after you may remember 25%. And within a week, you might only remember 5%. That's the way that your brain works. The quicker you understand this, the quicker you can factor this in to your studying regimen. So let's take a look at this. You use a technique called spaced repetition. So if you study a topic on day 1, you want to come back to it on day 3, day 5, day 7, and space your repetition out. The more you repeat things, the deeper the memory becomes. And that brings us to the next tip, which is depth of processing. When you take in information, if you want to remember it more effectively, a very powerful way of doing this is to remix that, is to change that information. So if you're looking at information in a textbook, think of a rhyme, think of a pattern, maybe make a video, maybe make a colored diagram, an illustration to help you to change that information, to help you remember it at a deeper level. You don't just want to read it and study it and then regurgitate. You want to change it in some way. So the next thing is get to your spot. And what I mean by this is, what is the space, the place, the environment that you're the most productive in, that you're the most focused in? One of the things that we forget as human beings is that we are influenced by our environments. The kind of student that you are in your classroom is different to the kind of student that you're going to be in your bed. When you're under the covers and you've got your laptop on your lap, you're going to be more productive in one area than another. So find out what that is for you and make sure you get to that spot as quickly as possible. Most of the difficulty when it comes to studying is not in the studying itself. It's in the activation energy required. I talked about this in the previous video that I did with this channel. Go ahead and go and check that one out. Sometimes we focus on getting more motivation, improving our techniques, and trying to fuel our rocket ship even more. But another way of making your studying more effective is to remove the resistance, to cut out the distractions like social media. So don't have your phone next to you. Turn it off, put it in a different room. Remove any kind of distraction. And I'm talking about people, your dog. Put your dog in a different room if you have a pet or an animal that distracts you. Go somewhere where you cannot be distracted, and the only single thing that you can do is focus on the most important thing. And the most important thing is studying, revising, learning, removing those distractions, so less effort and energy is required for you to focus, and you can use it on what's important. And that brings me to the next point. You want to work at 2 levels. So increase your fuel and your motivation to study. Think about and write down, tell people why you're doing this. I'm doing this because I want to become a doctor, an engineer, an entrepreneur, a social activist, a campaigner. And at the same time, remove the blocks that are stopping you. Remove the activation energy required for you to start studying. So before you go to bed at night, have your notebook out and ready on your desk. Make sure it's free of any clutter. Even have the pen ready. So the only thing you have to do is sit down and start taking notes. You don't even have to write the title or the date, because those things are already done. And what you want to realize here is that success is a setup. It's not an accident. So make it happen that way. Plan and set yourself up for success. Habits. Let's talk about habits. Because as much as you want to be motivated, if you want these things to be effortless, you need to build habits. Now think about brushing your teeth every morning. When it comes to brushing your teeth, it doesn't require motivation. You don't watch a motivational video for you to brush your teeth, or for you to go to the toilet, or for you to put your shoes on in the morning. The only thing you do is you do the habit. And so by building habits, you make it easier and easier for you to execute the thing that you need to do. Habits don't require motivation. So how do you build the habit of studying effectively? You start small. You start with a small habit and you progressively make it harder and harder. So you might start off at the beginning with doing 10 minutes in the morning. And then your goal is simply to be consistent for 2 weeks, just studying 10 minutes every morning, very focused, very effective. And then you make it 15 minutes, 2 weeks again, very focused, very effective. And then you move to 20 minutes. And the next thing you know, you're doing 2 hours every single morning before you even get to school, college, or university. And you graduate your habits gradually over time. The problem that a lot of us have is we try and do too many things at once, focus on one thing. And that brings me to my next point. Know what it is that you're looking for when it comes to revision, when it comes to studying. So be smart about it. You don't have to learn everything. The examiner, the teacher in the classroom, know what it is that they are looking for. Play the game, because this studying game that you're in right now, this period of your life, some of the things that you're learning are functional, and some of the things that you're learning are lifelong practical things. So know the difference. If there is something that you need the examiner to see, if there is a way that you need to present your essays, if there's a way that you need to present the information, give it to them that way. Hard work is going to beat talent when talent doesn't work hard, which brings me to my next point. It's not just about your genetics. It's not just about what you're capable of. You might be the smartest student in that classroom, just like I was, but if you don't work just as hard as the 20, 30 other people in that room, they're going to beat you. They're going to destroy you. And when it comes to that day at the exam, they put in more hours than you. They studied better than you. They looked at past papers. They spoke to other students about what they needed to do. And they were just sharper when it came to that moment, like a samurai who keeps his sword sharp. When the moment came to strike, they didn't hesitate. They only needed one opportunity, and I want you to be as sharp as you possibly can. So focus on putting in the hours. So we got 2 more points left, and these are probably the most important. I need you to really hear me now. When you study, I don't want you to study like a student. I don't want you to study like anyone in your classroom. I want you to study like a lecturer. Now imagine the way that your teacher or your lecturer studies for the classroom. If they were sitting that exam, if they were sitting down for that study session, what are the things that they would do differently? What are the books that they would read differently? What kind of research would they do? And really get yourself into their shoes, into their mindset, because that's what's going to take you 10x forward. It's going to take you 10 steps further than you are at the moment. If you think like a beginner, you're going to prepare like a beginner. But if you learn to think like a master, like the lecturer, like the person who's teaching everybody else, what level of preparation would that require? And then act in accordance with that. And the final, most powerful, practical technique when it comes to studying smart is what's known as the low-key method or the loci method. And to keep it simple, it means this. If you're trying to learn a new language, let's say you're learning Spanish, use your room, use your house that you live in to hold different memories in different places. So I used to use this when I was studying for French. I'd keep all of the things related to sports in one room. I'd keep all the things related to common conversations in my kitchen. And I would put labels on things. The spoon in my kitchen drawer, I knew exactly if I was looking for that information, it's the spoon in the drawer, and if I look at the label in my mind, I can see the word associated with it. So use this so when you're walking around your house has now become a study session, and you're walking inside that matrix. You've hacked the system. So even when you're sitting down to have dinner and you look up, you can see the revision notes for that module that you found difficult. And every single day, you're coming back to what I talked about at the beginning of this video, that spaced repetition. You're repeating what you need to remember again and again, and you've got that depth of processing. The reason this is powerful is because you've created an immersive studying experience, and that's what the greats do. There is no line between studying and not studying. There is no off switch. There's just different levels of immersion. So imagine if you were living in your textbook and you made your physical environment a representation of all the things that you need to learn. You're walking around in this palace of information. And I want to leave you with the most powerful quote of all when it comes to education. There is no end to education. There is no end to the things you learn. It's not that you read a book, you pass the exam, and that's it, you're finished. The whole of your life, from the moment you're born to the moment that you die, is a process of learning. So if you can apply the things here, you schedule your learning, you schedule what you're going to learn when, you space your repetition out, you remix things so you can remember, you get to the spot, you cut out the distractions, you increase your motivation and you remove the blocks. You start with small habits and progressively make them harder and harder and harder. You know what it is that the person you're studying for is looking for, so you learn those things. You're practical about it. You know that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work. You study like you're a lecturer and not a student, and you use that loci method to turn the environment that you're in into a wealthy palace of education. There is no reason why you can't achieve more, do more, and like I said at the beginning of the video, you make your studying more effective so you can do twice as much in half the time. And now it's become effortless, exciting, and fun. And those are the 11 ways that you do it. Accept only the best and nothing less. I'll see you in the comments below, and make sure you check out my other video on motivation to study. Peace.